Welcome back, YouTube, to another video of Ask Builder. I am Ed Builder, a long-term real estate investor and consultant to entrepreneurs like yourself. I've spent 10 years of my life consulting with some of the largest Fortune 500 companies. And if you like this content, please hit the subscribe button down below and ring that bell, okay? Because I'm featuring comment feedback daily on my YouTube videos. I'm bringing you guys more information on PUA, PPP, EIDLs, the grants, the reconsideration. So subscribe to my channel, ring the bell so you guys can get notified when new information and new content comes available. Today, I'm bringing this video to you because I'd like to get into some of the unanswered questions around the EIDL loan, that is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan for entrepreneurs like yourself who have received funding and need to understand a little bit more of the fine detail of what's inside those terms and conditions and what you can use your funds for. Now, just a short disclaimer, of course, I am not a certified CPA nor a licensed practicing attorney, and please consult with your CPA or attorneys if you have very specific questions. So let's get into the details. A lot of people are coming to me asking the questions of what can I do now that I have received my EIDL funding, and these are some really key and important questions because many of you have, I'm sure, read the fine print, read all of the terms and conditions very tightly, very closely with a magnifying glass, so you fully understand everything that's listed inside those terms and conditions, I'm certain. So today, I'd like to express to you what you can actually spend those funds on. Are you guys ready? Operating capital. That's it. Operating capital. So what exactly is operating capital? This is your rent, your utilities, your salary, even your cost of goods sold. Things like office supplies are also included under here. This is the moment where you guys need to do a gut check, do a bit of a reality check. If you were spending it before, the pandemic COVID hit, okay, on a regular basis, that is your operating capital. Okay, I'm certain many of you probably have rent, overhead, maybe offices. Perhaps you have utility payments for those offices. Maybe you have an employee here or there. And these are the items that you could certainly use your EIDL funds for. And you got to be careful on some of these things because a lot of questions that I've had surface are, well, what about my salary? Can I use this money on my own salary? And again, here comes that gut check. You're not going to give yourself a bonus from these funds, okay? You're not going to give yourself a raise from these funds. If you were spending it before and you had regular payments to yourself, maybe you paid yourself, $2,000 a month, maybe you paid yourself $5,000 or $10,000 a month. You can certainly continue to pay yourself those regular salaries with EIDL funding as long as it's justifiable. Well, what you never want to say is, in order for me to continue my business, I had to give myself a raise, right? No, that's definitely not covered under the EIDL, and certainly not a bonus. You're not going to want to take these funds and go out and buy a new car. You're not going to want to take these funds and go out and buy a new computer. You're not going to want to take these funds and go and buy yourself a new flat screen monitor for your office, right? Or new camera equipment, or anything that was considered an upgrade that is considered a capital expenditure. These types of items are not covered under the EIDL. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, how are they ever going to know, right? How are they going to know what I use the funds for? And I highly recommend that if you received an EIDL, that you go and you place all of those funds into a separate bank account, okay? Because you need to keep records for a minimum of 3 years of every single receipt from the moment that was funded, listed inside the terms and conditions. Every single dollar that leaves that account has to be accounted for with receipts, with bookkeeping that determines exactly what the funds were used for a minimum of 3 years. And I can't tell you when and how the SBA is going to check up on this, but I can tell you that it's highly likely that they will certainly check up on this. They've certainly increased their staff to handle all the economic injury disaster loans. I'm certain there will be auditing that will take place. And naturally, you would not want to be pulled for one of those audits if you've gone out and suddenly bought a new car, or suddenly had all this new equipment. Now, there are times, right? Let's say you're an Uber driver, right? There are times where you may need something like a vehicle, or you may need some large piece of equipment in a manufacturing line, and maybe you think that there's a possibility you could use your EIDL for this. There certainly are moments in time in business where you have to go out and purchase something. Say your car is no longer functioning, you need to drive Uber, and you have to go out and buy a new car. Um, that is more a capital expenditure. That's something that you pay off over a long period of time with a payback, right? So you have to build yourself in a cost structure that defines what that payback looks like from revenue from your business as a future downstream activity. So, that's not part of your normal operating expenses. Now, maybe the fuel for your vehicle might be part of your normal operating expenses. Maybe the insurance on your vehicle might be part of your operating expenses, but certainly not a brand new vehicle. Now, you can get into these gray areas where if you're leasing equipment, which talk to your CPA on this, but you can get into some gray areas where, leased equipment could be part of operating expenses. Again, ask your CPA, the person closest to your business, and they could give you a proper evaluation of that. Some things you also cannot use the funds for are paying off long-term debt. Now, this EIDL loan comes to you at a 3.75% interest rate, which is a pretty great interest rate, over a span of 30 years. That's not really an ideal type of business loan. Typical business loans, you want to make sure you could pay off within 5 years. But this particular business loan is extended for 30 years, making payments fairly small. Okay, so I mean, you could in some cases over 30 years have a payment of $50 a month. You could have a payment of $750 a month if you're getting into this $100,000 threshold type limit, where you're seeing you're borrowing more than $100,000. So do not take the funds and go and pay off some other long-term debt that has a higher interest rate. That is not what this particular loan is for. However, you can use it to help fund some of the interest that is part of a normal operating expense. So if you have interest on your normal operating expenses, you could use it to pay off that. Now, what you may be able to get away with is if you had a business line of credit, or you had some kind of revolving credit that has business expenses on, that you've gone and spent those funds during COVID. You didn't necessarily have the revenue, so you extended yourself on a credit card or some type of credit line. You can use this loan to pay back revolving credit that was related to COVID, providing it's a business expense. Okay. Keep in mind always, you're going to have to provide the receipts. So, do the gut check, make sure you're using these funds properly, make sure you're, not extending yourself in areas that are too gray that could get yourself in trouble. Keep in mind too that when you exceed that $25,000 threshold of the loan, you are opening yourself up to areas of the SBA where they're asking for collateral. Any type of fixed assets that you may have associated to the business. If you're a sole proprietor, that could even mean some equity in your homes. That could mean your vehicles. That could mean any type of asset that could be used as collateral to pay back in the event that you find yourself insolvent. So make sure that you follow closely and understand not to misrepresent the use of these funds, and make sure you track with good booking and record keeping to have the traceability and the audit trail that identifies where all the funds went. All right, guys, I want to take some time to answer some of your comments that have been left on this channel. A lot of questions concerning EIDL and understanding what the next steps everybody needs to take from whether or not they've been approved, reconsideration. I'll link videos to all of this below if you need to see any videos concerning reconsideration, if you're concerned about PPP and funding and what those funds can be used for, or what the forgiveness looks like on those funds. Check out my other videos. I have tons of content to help you guys make good informed decisions. As always, guys, give me a thumbs up. Post your comments below. I'm reviewing comments daily, answering any questions that I may be able to provide assistance for, and I may even be featuring them on future videos. James R. Matazzaro posts, these disaster loans, meaning if there's a hurricane or tornado, the government shouldn't ask for your credit, and your house has been trashed. Same concept. I think this language should be in the next bill, detailing that grants should not be denied based on credit. I don't disagree with you, James. I think that's some great recommendations. Also, to understand that even the SBA is asking for hazard insurance, meaning that if a hurricane or tornado or some fire or natural disaster, and you are above the $25,000 threshold, that you can insure any balance of that $25,000 threshold with some form of collateral that's insured, right? So I don't disagree with James. I mean, we were hit with some natural disaster. Why are we checking our credit, right? Merrick also responds and says, Corona didn't ask to check my credit score when it hit. Good comments. Amin asks, has anybody gotten a response yet to their reconsideration email? Post your comments down below if you've received your response. We'd like to see what your experience is like. David Miley writes, called today regarding the grant, told someone separate looks at the grant, loan declined because of credit, no grant, credit pulled 4.6, just got the decline this morning. David, it's in your best interest that if you truly need this loan to go through the reconsideration process, if your credit has been affected, check out my videos on the reconsideration and tips on how to improve your credit or ask for a cosigner when you go back. Maybe in some cases you could provide additional tax information that demonstrates that you are suffering and your credit score has suffered. What the SBA is mainly asking for is that you provide new information outside of that very small application process that was originally processed. SH says, mine also said unsatisfactory history. I submitted reconsideration showing them 4 disputes that are still active. This was 10 days ago and I haven't heard anything back yet. Keep holding. I'm sure that they're processing these things rather slowly. If you can imagine, they're still processing through the original the original request for funds that has not yet closed. So reconsideration is also taking some time. Andrew Cool writes, I was declined because of my credit in bad shape right now. I would like to submit reconsideration with the co-borrower. Has anybody done this yet? Yes. Your co-borrower would also have to have a good credit history that is going to be naturally better than your credit history. So be careful when selecting whoever that particular person is going to be. I do have reconsideration videos linked. Go check those out. I offer you all kinds of advice on who to select, and making sure that the person you select understands that if you gain a loan greater than $25,000, that there is expected collateral behind it. Richard Evans, I was declined my EIDL loan because of SBA needed additional information. SBA needed me to send them current tax returns and my signed file 4. I mean, if you have them available, do it. If your 2019s aren't available yet, I would recommend that you prepare your 2019s and use those as more information that you can provide into the SBA. Amy Perkins, it's frustrating that they are doing this for the reconsideration when there's still millions of applications that haven't been even processed. This has been a mess since day one. Amy, I don't disagree with you. A lot of people out here are frustrated. Keep positive, stay looking towards the future, and keep a smile on. King of Cap, I did my reconsideration today, faxed it in, dropped in a copy of an email too. I need my loan. The little grant was only $1,000 and it was only enough to cover my rent. King, keep positive. It's going to take some time for reconsideration. You have up to 6 months. I don't recommend that you rush into reconsideration. Once you go through reconsideration, this is going to be your last hurrah, your last attempt at gaining these funds. So it's best that you follow some of the tips that I've provided in my reconsideration videos linked down below. Jersey Michael, good morning, sir. I received my grant on April 30th. It is now May 14th. Experian pulled my credit. Then on May 17th, I received an email saying my loan was pending for an official offer. Is this a good sign? I would certainly say it's a good sign, Mike. The typical process is your credit will be pulled if they see it's in good standing. The typical process that I see is your credit will be pulled, and then a few days later you will get an email asking you to create a login portal and to go and view your offer. So I would say that's a good sign. Marina, I did the same. I sent in an email for reconsideration on May 8th, and I never received any confirmation that they received it. So what I can tell you is if you have not received a confirmation email, to go out and check your spam area. The company servicing the reconsideration is the PDC reconsideration team. So look inside your spam folder. Sometimes the attachments are rather large. So in some cases, if the attachment is too large, it's going to naturally default to spam. You would receive a confirmation stating something along the lines of, "Thank you for contacting PDC reconsideration team. Your request has been received and will be processing in the order that it was received. Thank you, PDC reconsideration team." This was some of our testimony from some of our other viewers. Thank you, Andrea, for that. Thank you guys as always for watching, and if you like this content, please hit the subscribe button down below and ring that bell, okay, because I'm featuring comment feedback daily on my YouTube videos, so you may want to tune in tomorrow. Let me know what you guys are experiencing, ask any questions you have that you need clarity on, and I will be certain to read and review all those and might be featured tomorrow.